Hi, we're the cast of Tales of the City.
And we are in studio with the Hollywood Reporters.
What a great cast that you all were able to work with, too. Aside from yourselves, Olympia Dukakis coming back, then there was Murray Bartlett, Victor Garber, and then you had Jen Richards, Daniela Vega. I mean, we really can go on and on with the list of the magnitude of the talent that you guys were working with. So how was that, working with such a great cast?
Well, I'm talking a lot, so go.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, it was...
This is it. This is it.
This was us on set. We never got along. It was really intense. I mean, diva. So, no, it was phenomenal. You literally, I mean, I'm just to get to work with Laura. I mean, not to talk to you, I mean, like in third person, but truly was just a dream come true. One of my just favorites of all time. Yeah, deal with it. Stop. And Zosia and Charlie and, everybody. I'd say for me it was the, maybe the most enjoyable part of the experience was how much I feel like we did all connect with one another.
Yeah.
And it felt so present and everybody felt, everybody was just there to, give their heart. And you really felt that. So.
Yeah.
I think there's something important from what I've realized in my growing but fresh career, that when the cast, the crew, everybody on every end has a personal or a passion point to the project, it creates an environment like that that's more of a family. And yeah, there's going to be challenges and struggles and problems, but you face them in a different way. I think that was like a big opening point or a door, that kind of flung open when we all walked into it that made it so easy.
It also did, I think when you're making something that everybody feels is important, that you're not just making something for entertainment's sake. I mean, obviously we hope that you find it entertaining, but when you're making something that down to people on, Grip and Electric and our makeup department, everyone from the writer's room to the cast who felt like we were making something that really, really mattered. It creates this kind of what the poster says, it's like a very chosen family. We all really chose to be there making this project, and it creates a very special bond.
And it almost goes beyond entertaining.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Something that I think that was really important or remarkable about this project is that you highlighted or spotlighted members of the LGBT community, not only on screen, but behind the scenes as well. So Lauren, if you'd be able to talk a little bit about that and how important it was to have that representation within your writing and directing team.
Yeah, it felt paramount as far as I was concerned. I think it's truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience to be handed these characters who represent such a wide range of identities. And as a queer woman, I have one way of understanding my identity, and that looks very different from someone of a different race or a different class or a different gender identity. So having a wide range of experiences represented in the writer's room felt like the only way to get closer to authentic storytelling. And I think in terms of what everyone's saying about the feeling on set, when your director is trans and can speak directly to the scene that you're talking about, this layer of richness gets added on top, because then that person can say, when I experienced this in my life, this is how this scene played out for me, and then everything continues to shift and grow instead of staying stagnant. And it just made the whole environment feel a lot safer.
Yeah, and more authentic to the storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of the opening lines to the entire series is how San Francisco has changed since the 60s. So how were you guys able to adapt or modernize this story to fit a new generation?
I think it was really important. I mean, everyone talks about San Francisco being a character on the show, but Tales has a very specific tone. I keep saying that we represent life as we wish it was, not exactly as it is, right? So finding ways to talk about San Francisco becoming pretty unlivable felt important, but the tone of Tales is not a documentary, right? It's 2 feet off the ground, it's a little warmer, it's a little more magical than real life. So finding ways to weave that through the storytelling in a little bit of a humorous way, while also having some characters that are contending with that in a real way toward the end of the season, was our way of commenting on, like, the city's really changed, and yet there's a spirit to the people who live there that remains the same, in my opinion. I think there's something always really queer about San Francisco, even as it continues to change and gentrify.
Yeah, and I feel like another way that you guys were able to sort of have that modernization was bringing in a new generation, right, into the cast. So for you guys, how is it like to represent that new generation and represent that voice within your roles?
It's a little terrifying. I mean, I'll say in the first point, because it's as much as an honor it is, and I'm thankful for the opportunity, and thankful for the opportunity to see it out there. You know, even if I wasn't playing it, it's scary because our community is very large and very different. And even in the fold of, like, you know, another brown guy who's gay walking down the street, we could be 150% different. And I think finding that reflection is difficult, and putting the weight of trying to reflect it is also difficult. But as scary as it is, you know, you don't achieve anything unless you kind of walk into fear. So it's like I'm ready and excited.
Well, I guess for me, one thing I'll say is I feel so grateful to play this character who's queer, and I can be out and playing, you know, and being a part of this, you know, and the original Tales obviously is a huge part of even getting to this place. And so to be able to be a part of this and explore the differences of the generations, which is a huge theme in the show, those conversations. And so it feels wonderful to be able to be a part of this, because, you know, it's not even that long ago where something like this felt very hard to happen.
Conversations weren't even being had.
Yeah.
You know, in '93 when we did the original series, you know, the phrase LGBTQ did not exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't exist. So the map that is available now, the geography that you couldn't even see in '93, there was its own set of issues and politics and cultural divide and struggles and all of that, is a completely different landscape than the one that we're in now. So it was the right time to bring the show back, and it was absolutely paramount that it be passed on to the next generation, and to explore the differences between, you know, have a sense of history here, of how we are all evolving and developing, and the things that hurt us and the things that help us, and how it's all sort of, you know, and where is it possibly leading? You know, I think they're important questions to be asked, and it's sort of the reason to do the show.
Now, Laura, as you said, you were a part of this from the very beginning. So what was it like to come back, be a part of this project, and step back into Marianne's shoes?
No, it's great. You know, it's always, it's wonderful. I mean, not many people get to say they've played the same part for 25 years. And it changed my life significantly, personally and professionally. And, you know, but then at the same time, it's very different. It's a different time, and it should be. It should be very different, and it should reflect that, and I think that it does.
Yeah.
So it's, in some ways, like having a great history of something, and then in other ways, you're stepping into something very new and very, you know, appropriately altered. Yeah.
And where the show picks back up, you see where she is now as a woman and as a mother, and there's this sort of very complicated mother-daughter dynamic between her and Ellen, your character, Shauna. So when I saw that sort of dynamic, I sort of thought of, well, that's kind of like most mother-daughter dynamics, where it's very complicated, where one minute you guys are best friends, and then the next minute you're like, oh, I forgot I hate her. So it's a sort of back and forth. So what was it like playing Shauna's character and sort of making that complicated relationship relatable for viewers?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most obviously compelling parts of playing this character and getting to embark on, you know, her story and her narrative. And yeah, I think, you know, it's like she pretends that she's like not craving that love and not craving that nurturance, but I think in her core that's really what she wants and needs. And obviously there's a lot of baggage with this character. She was adopted, Marianne left, she's been raised by her father, and she doesn't know she's adopted. So she goes on this journey, and they go on a journey together that, you know, is about finding each other, connecting with one another, and, you know, realizing that they're really not that different, you know, in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie, I just want to talk about an incredible scene with your character, Ben, at the dinner party, where one of the guests, he says, basically the sufferings of the older gay generation paved the way for his privilege as a younger gay man. But then there was sort of that inner conflict with Ben saying, I may understand some of the privilege that I've been given, but also as an African American man, I still understand discrimination. Mm-hmm. So how did you personally relate to that moment or Ben's reaction?
100%. How did I relate? I'm so thankful that they chose to bring this up, and I know I had specifically talked to Lauren in the beginning of it about my interest in Ben and this character being from a LGBTQ standpoint, but specifically from a race married with LGBTQ life. So I was really happy to get a chance to work on it and to see it come forward. Where do I begin? I relate 100% to it. And it's obviously why we are telling stories like this, why we continue. You know, we've been asked a lot today of like, well, you know, a lot's changed and a lot's better. And it's like, yeah, but there still isn't. Mm-hmm. And there's still a lot of people who aren't being heard, and specifically on a racial divide. So it's important for me to see that reflection, to see it grow, to see even, and I kind of hate and also love that I have to say that, but see people of a darker race. You know, I'm mixed, and that presents a point of privilege too. So seeing everybody of every color is another aspect that we're gonna, I'm sure, get to, and not just in the show, but in life. And so yeah, I reflect it, I relate.
Yeah. Yeah. So to have that representation.
Yeah. I'm just thankful to see it out there as an audience member and to have the opportunity to work on it. It's there's much more to come, but I'm happy to see it beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zosia, with your character, I don't want to give away too many spoilers here.
Don't give away any spoilers.
Yes, I won't. But your character, Claire, she's sort of this, she's on the outside looking in, right? So what was it like to play a character that kind of walks into this community and is playing it, witnessing it from the outside?
I think it was kind of great given the fact that I sort of was in the same position as Claire in a way, in that, like, echoing a bit to the questions you asked earlier, like, there is this very new generation of tales stepping into this piece of work that has been immortalized in literature and on film already. And we were so incredibly welcomed into the fold, but there definitely was a sense of we're stepping into something that's already been established, and like we are the newcomers. And I think that Claire is this interesting character where you have this community in the show that are so connected and bonded, and she is sort of, I mean, she even says herself, like, she's kind of the ultimate outsider. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was kind of like myself coming into this experience and getting to watch it from the outside, stepping in sort of tentatively, and that's basically the same thing Claire is doing.
Mm-hmm. So we're in Pride Month right now. We're also coming up on the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, and the show also touches on the Compton's Cafeteria riot and all of that. So how is this new iteration sort of a testament to the progress that we've made as a society?
I think the show is about what we are grappling with as a community right now, which is understanding and recognizing where we've come from and those who have come before us. I mean, I am so aware that I sit here because Armistead came before me, and all of his activism and all of his work allows me to live the life that I currently live, let alone create the art that I create. But then also, where are we going, right? How do we have both of these conversations simultaneously, understanding who's come before us, but not getting stuck there? How do we allow the community to begin to expand and evolve? How do we allow people to identify in the way that they want to identify without getting really stringent around what the words are and how we use them? It's really exciting to be a part of, but I think it requires dialogue and it requires expansiveness, and hopefully that's what the show has started.
And it requires some discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
It requires people to sit in discomfort and be okay with that and to move through it. It requires not skipping steps, and it requires just being there.
I think something magical we've been kind of mentioning today in these talkbacks that has given us the ability to tell these stories from nuanced and not the, it doesn't have to be the gay story of a person struggling or a person like going through all this pain. And you saw for so many years that just a reflection from that standpoint, just the negative. And this we get to see just people living. And I think it's because of those struggles we get to just actually have an opportunity to be like, no, we're just all humans and just dealing with the same shit. And, can I say that? Can I? We're all just humans and we're dealing with the same stuff. And it's like that fight has given us all the opportunity to tell that story. In a really kind of beautiful way, hopefully.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can stream Tales of the City streaming now on Netflix.